Today we're gonna talk about the newest 6-star Forest Aurorian, the Luminous Guardian, Hedy. This is almost our already last 6-star and also banner for the year of 2021, as there's only 2 teased potential candidates left. But that's a topic for another time, because we are here today to talk about the newest addition to the Forest roster, who is not only a judge that could even rival the likes of Phoenix Wright and co, but also a converter. Yes, that's right, finally a new converter. In the current landscape of Alchemy Stars, those are a pretty rare sight to behold. So let's hope that she doesn't disappoint, as with her being part of the most busted element, which at this point might also be called the busty element, her chances don't look too great, because her competition is ready to rumble. But worry not, because I'm today taking on the role of the Knight in Shining Armor, to protect me and also all of you from evil bait banners. And also so that we can together find out if she delivers and is even worth all of your precious Lou member, blue flares and co. And to do exactly that, we're now going to start this off by taking an in-depth look at everything Hedy has in store for us. And finish it up by giving Miss Judge here a taste of her own medicine and give her a final judgment. But let's get going before Hedy sends out Pitman to get rid of all the evidence. So, let's start this journey by looking at her active skill, Lumen. This skill allows Hedy to teleport to a selected tile, and afterwards deal 250% damage and knock back everything in the column of the chosen location. Every in the process hit tile is converted to green, and this whole description of her skill should already ring some bells, as this is just 1-for-1 Colleen's active, but for a different attribute. You could say that Hedy is basically Green Colleen, meaning that she sadly also shares some of her weaknesses. No, not that one. What I mean is that her active skill being at a 4-turn cooldown is often really rough, and the payoff of a converted column is not that huge compared to actual cross-converters that do have quite a similar high CD demerit, which does result in cross-converters and also column TP converters sometimes fighting over the same team spot. And Colleen's performance to date already shows that there's only a limited amount of scenarios where column TP converters truly shine, as the explosiveness of cross ones is often preferred over the more flexible and compact column TP version, which does in turn mean that the rest of Pitman's superior does need to be very convincing, especially because she's unlike Carl in an already pretty stacked attribute. So, let's continue our inspection by taking a thorough look at her chain combo. Nimble Knight. This chain deals 110% damage to 12 tiles in a diamond shape and additional 16% to the inner cluster at a chain trigger requirement of 4. 120% but this time to 16 tiles in a radial shape, and now 18% additional damage for the inner cluster at 9. And last but not least, 130% damage to 2 surrounding clusters and 20% additional damage to the inner cluster at a 13+ chain. The first thing that should come to mind when looking at these chains is that these scalings are pretty low, especially if we take the inner cluster bonus out of the equation, which means that even though Hedy has significantly better chain field coverage and also slightly higher stats compared to Colleen, that she does suffer from massive damage loss on her chains, theoretically, as there is this huge mecha behind her that we do still need to talk about before we can, well, judge the judge. And for that, we just need to take a quick look at her equipment. Pompeii Maxima. This equip lets Hedy use Pompeii's attack stat for her active skill and also more importantly for her chain combos. And this giant mecha's attack is always going to equal 120% of his masters. But it doesn't quite stop here, as during Aurora time, Hedy's Knight's attack increases by 2% for every tile you use, for an up to total 30% attack increase. And all of this does bring a lot more light into the dark, because this now explains why her chain scalings were just that low, as her Knight in Shining Armor basically replaces her for her chain combos, and he, unlike Hedy herself, does have quite beefy DPS-like stats that even keep on growing during Aurora time, making already one thing clear: Hedy feels right at home around big chains. So, behind bars? No, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Hedy is a big fan of big combos, making her already glance at that 5th spot in your OTK teams. However, there are some not too minimal problems surrounding her. First, Pompeii's attack being that of a detonator is nice and all, but this just pretty much equals out her meager at best chain scalings, so don't expect any over-the-top crazy damage. 2. Pompei also only subs in for her chains and active, meaning her normal attacks are going to hit like a mosquito in winter. God, I hate these And lastly, 3. Is there even a spot for her left? She sadly fights over already quite contested team spots of either a sub DPS, a high CT converter, or teleporter. And for the last one, she's quite unpractical, as she does boast a fairly high 4-turn CD, so let's see the damage she's so proud of in action, and compare her to some of the most prominent Forest Element DPS Aurorians in our Damage Check. In this new segment, we are not going to check out our candidates' looks, but instead their raw damage potential, and compare it to some of their most powerful rivals, which in Hedy's case are Aria and Hero. So, let's get right into it with Hero versus Hedy. Aria with no active versus Hedy. Aria with active versus Hedy. And just as a little extra, Hedy with full Aurora time bonus. And as we can see, it is apparent that she, even with her power to pierce the heavens, doesn't really hold a candle to either of them, as her chain scalings are sadly too low, but she overall still delivers quite potent damage and even manages to outdamage Hero with inner cluster hits or high enough bonus damage. But if we also take normal attacks into account, Hedy and the robot she in secret stole from Raphael, don't tell anyone, start falling behind really quickly, which just solidifies the fact that she's a decent DPS, but no real replacement for Forest's unbeaten champions, meaning a pretty good sub DPS. And before we go on with this, let's take a small detour to the court hall to inspect her breakthroughs and see what else besides this huge piece of steel Hedy is packing. And as usual, we're only going to look at breakthrough 3 and 6, because these are the ones that actually matter for 6-star Aurorians. And like I already mentioned earlier, Hedy is part of the same archetype as Colleen, which is kind of a sub-archetype to cross-converters, as they all share similar active skills and also their BTs. Meaning, her BT3 reduces her active skills cooldown by 1, making it now 3. And at max BT, upgrades her skill with Preemptive Strike. BT3 is once again similar to cross-converters, a really good nice-to-have upgrade that makes her just that much better. And with a no 3-turn CD, even a pretty good option for a lot of teams. And max BT is the real highlight, as this does give her a good power spike because she's now able to TP and convert directly on turn 1, and also in result a whole lot more valuable for burst teams and co. But are these BTs worth your hard-earned embers and maybe even cash? Probably not. If you're really crazy about Hedy, picking up BT3 might not be too bad, but I wouldn't advise doing so, and also highly discourage from going for MBT, as there's some really big highlights coming real soon to an Alchemy Stars app near you, and you might rather want to save for that. But what we're not going to save for later is Hedy's final verdict. So, now that we're done with everything Pitman's Sugar Mummy has to offer, let's bring this to an end. All in all, Green Colleen is an all-around pretty good converter that brings with her some really good damage that you wouldn't expect from a converter, a teleport with additional conversion, and also a big huge giant enormous Mecha Knight that is sure to prove himself useful in bringing you tea. Not what I would do with something like that, but sure. Is she British or something? But she also has the huge demerit of not too hard hitting autos, a pretty hefty CD that cries for BTs, and more importantly, the fact that she's part of the Forest Element. What do I mean with that? Well, Hedy is very simply part of an attribute that doesn't need her. Forest is already stacked to the brim with excellent Aurorians that already fill out all needed roles. And while Hedy is also actually pretty good, thanks to the enormous amounts of damage she can provide, she is just like, how do I say this? Like extra cheese on a pizza. Nice to have, but not really needed. Sure, she does have her strong points, but But if we look at Carlene, who is also quite good, we can already see that she's also not a too often picked choice. And she has the advantage of being an at the moment less contested element and a generally more useful equip. Meaning, Hedy is a pretty strong Aurorian that sadly doesn't have a secured spot in most teams. So, let's get to the most important question in the room. Should you roll? Probably no. While Hedy does offer a whole lot of damage and can be a, to be fair, decent addition to your roster, column convert teleporters are at the moment just not too handy for a lot of teams and often just end up being teleporters with a too long CD and only slight benefits. If you already have all the standard Forest Aurorians like Hero, Arya, Nikki and co, you don't really need her, as she's, like I mentioned, probably at least 100 times already, only nice to have, but definitely not a must have. And if you are still lacking in the Forest department and are looking to change that, you might be better off waiting for a Hero rerun or some Arya Pact and Nicki Minaj rate ups. But if you want a decent sub DPS right now, well, I can't stop you. But don't forget that winter is coming. I mean, it's already here, but whatever, you know what I mean. And guess who else is coming with it? The Queen of the North, and this guy sitting in a chair menacingly. What's his deal? And why did everyone already forget about him? But as usual, if you like Hedy's design, VA and co, just go for her. Are you going to roll for the next Mecha Show's female protagonist? Or did you already? I would love to hear why. If you disagree with anything or just have something to share, just comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. That was all from me, have a nice day, and see you next time.